Okay, guys. So on Tuesday, okay, guys. So on Tuesday we saw what is food safety. All right. Anybody remembers what is food safety? What is food safety? The food that I eat causes no harm. All right. So that is a very important element to understand. And we also talk about contamination that we have in the food. Okay. So today we're talking about food. We're talking about food security. All right. So remember, we saw a little bit of food security on chapter 1. All right. So what is food security here? All right. So food security means what? Having access at what? Having access at all time to what? I told you three keywords to sufficient supply of what? Of safe. Very important. Safe and nutritious food. Okay? So we have this one, we have this keyword: sufficient, safe, and nutritious food. So what time is it? It's 12 p.m. here, and I see a lot of, most people are actually eating. So I cannot ask you, did you eat today? Did you eat yesterday? So pretty much in Korea, all right, most people are food secure. Why do we say that? Because they have enough food to eat every day. But what we don't know is that not the whole world is food secure. All right. So if you check around the world, we have around, as you know, we talk about food security. Pande. What is the opposite? Opposite is what? Food and security. All right. So this is when you have limited, right? Limited amount of food at your disposal every day. And the key word is availability. Do I have access to food? How can I have access to food? All right. So let me put it here. Here is what? Limited or uncertain. You are not sure. Okay. Availability of the same one. Safe, nutritious food. Okay, guys? So, when you look at it, the key word I was looking for here is what? Is access. How do I have access to food? All right? How do I have access to food? Here again, as we look at it, all right, remember we look at the relationship between food and health. All right? We also look at the relationship, what? Socioeconomical status on chapter 1 and your health. All right? So, how do I have access to food? You need to have money to buy food. All right? Or we need to have farmers to produce food for us, and we look at it a little bit. But you see, guys, around the world, we have at least, all right? Because when you talk about food and security here, we talk about people who are what? Undernourished. And the people who are undernourished around the world, they are around what? 850 million people. Okay? So that's a big number, almost a billion. All right, almost a billion. So this is actually a serious problem. We can ask the question, for example, regarding Korea. Okay. Because as you know, Korea is not such a big country. All right. Maybe you guys don't know, but Korea actually imports 90% of the food that we are actually eating. All right. So can I erase this? You guys took notes, right? All right. So very important to really follow what's going on here. Let's look at the case of South Korea here. Okay? So what did I say? The country, South Korea, what is happening? South Korea imports 90% of its food, right? From overseas. That's a lot. Maybe you guys didn't know. Because we don't worry too much, we're just eating, we always have the food on the table. Alright? But importing 90% of the food from overseas means that maybe the country is not really food sovereign. Alright? So now, for example, if I give you an example, what is happening, for example, in Mongolia, all right, South Korea bought, the government of Korea bought around 325,999 hectares of land, right? So the government bought this in Mongolia. Why? To produce crops. Okay? So, in Madagascar, okay, so the government, bought like 1.3 million hectares, but this one is for what? 99 years. Okay? So the government of Korea is doing all of this, in order for you guys to eat well. Okay? So now, what is happening here? We have more, still in South Korea here, more than 60 Korean companies. More than 60 Korean companies are involved in farming in how many countries? 16 countries. All right. So you have at least, like in Korea here, you have at least 60 companies that are involved in farming in different countries around the world. All right. But of course, you will also have like some problems now bringing the food to Korea, the problem of import and export. All right. And also now the cost of food. We'll talk a little bit about it. All right. And the importance of socioeconomic status and the health of people. What is food security? I have access to food all the time. I have sufficient food. I have safe food. and I have nutritious food. So this is a problem, actually. This is a problem, because now you're having some countries, you know, that don't want to get involved into, you know, maybe helping Korea with these type of problems, and then the food becomes more and more expensive, and we'll talk about it. What is happening when the food is becoming expensive? You're going to E-Mart, and then, wow, the bread was $1,000 now, $3,000, $4,000. You can ask these questions. Because when the prices are going high, we are talking about inflation now, you know, this is maybe an alarm that there is a problem, right, in the country. So guys, so when you look at this, you guys took the notes, right? Can I raise it? So when you look at this, what do you think is the solution? We're not going to create a new land in Korea, right? So, which means the country can find itself in some, you know, form of trouble, maybe 100 years, 200 years, and stuff like that. So, if you talk about the future, what do you think is the solution? What can we do? Any idea? No solution? We just die? What is the solution? What do you think the government should do now? You know, they bought some land in some different countries, but now, if countries don't want to sell you their lands, for example, the contract with Madagascar is for 99 years, but after that the contract is finished, right? So, what can we do? Any idea? Did you guys hear about this? What we call vertical farming. Vertical farming. You know, these are some of the things that the government is looking at right now, and I think they have now a plant in Suwon. You know Suwon? So people are experimenting that now. So the vertical farming, so you have a building like this, all right? And basically, you are growing crops inside. Because we don't have soil anymore. We don't have a new land. All right? So one of the solutions, right, is to go through vertical farming. So what vertical farming is what? We grow plants. How do we do it? We do it indoor. All right? So, and oftentimes, vertical farming is using no soil, all right, and what? And 95% less water. Okay, so if you guys can check it out when you have a time. And I was involved with some of the project at early stage around the Suwon area, and the guys was using some LED light. You guys know LED? Alright, so they use like some LED lights and some other things to grow the plant. It was actually working, and some people are actually using it right now. So, and the other thing that is also interesting with this one is we have no pesticides here. Okay? No pesticide, no herbicides here. This part is important. Remember, on Tuesday, when we talk about food safety, we mentioned the pesticides, okay? We mentioned the herbicides here. When we talk about food safety, the three contamination category, the pesticides in which category? Biological, chemicals, or physical? Yeah. All right. Just keep that in mind. So this is one of the technology. You guys can check it out. You can actually go to YouTube. You just put like vertical farming. You can actually put swan. There's an experiment, being done there. It's in a smaller scale where we're thinking about different solution in terms of food security. All right. Now, let me come back. Let me come back to this, and this is actually a very important aspect to remember. Remember last time what did we do? We put here socio-economical status. Remember? Socio-economical status. We are talking about what? We are talking about income, all right? Meaning what? Money. We can put education. Education is very important here, but in some of my studies, I focus on tertiary education, all right? Like meaning university level. Why? We think that most of the time, people who have education, right? University education level, they will make more money. And when you make more money, all right, so most of the time, you will be food secure. Or the opposite, when you don't have the money, you are food insecure. So this second aspect, you guys remember that second aspect. With the money, now you have access to the food. All right. So, and if you are food insecure, the risk is what? We talk about your relationship with health. Okay. All right. So as we talk about health. For example, in my case here, the study I'm doing right now, I'm looking at the problem of anemia. On chapter 1, we did talk about anemia. Do you remember when we talk about anemia, which deficiency do we have in terms of nutrient? Do you remember? Yes. Okay, so when we talk, for example, we come back to this one, we talk about food security here, or food insecurity. So we say that your food habits, okay, your food habits, basically what you eat, what you are eating right now, what you usually eat, all right, will actually tell us if you're actually food secure or not food secure. If you only eat once a day, you just have a bit of bread and kimchi, you may not be food secure. All right? So, food security or food insecurity will affect your food habit. Okay? And your food habit will affect your health. Okay? Because if you don't eat well, if you don't have enough nutrients, all right, it means that you are undernourished. And if you are undernourished, yeah, you will develop some deficiency, all right, that will affect your health. Of course, there's also a direct relationship between food, between social-economical status and your health, without having a mediation with food security here. So, if you look, for example, the problem of anemia, this is one of the research that I'm actually doing right now. All right, so I look at the problem of anemia, for example, among women. All right, I look at mostly women in the sub-Saharan region, right, in Africa. So when we talk about anemia, what is the problem here? We have a problem, right? So this is when we have the number of red blood cells, or if you want the hemoglobin, right? So this number is reduced, it's actually below the threshold. So the number of the red blood cells is actually lower. All right. So when we go to the hospital, remember the chapter relationship between food and health. What did we see? We talk about nutrition assessment. Okay. Nutrition. So we do the nutrition assessment, and we realize, wow, this lady has anemia. How do we know it? We know it because the number of red blood cells is actually lower, right, than the normal. Okay, so when we look at it, so if this number is actually lower, what is happening? What is happening here is the blood so here, what do we have here? Because of it, the blood, cannot it cannot properly transfer the oxygen all around the body. Okay. So if we cannot do it, so when we have this problem of anemia, all right, is what? This is an indicator. An indicator of what? Poor nutrition. An indication of poor nutrition and poor health. So guys, when you study, right, always put everything into perspective. When I give you that, for example, the last problem. So we look at, for example, the socioeconomic status of the person, all right, who goes to see the doctor, and we do the nutrition assessment. And then we realize, wow, nutrition assessment, when we do like the clinical part, remember nutrition assessment, what do we have? We have the ABCD, right? The anthropometric, biochemical, the chemical, and the dietary assessment, all right? So we have this information, okay? So by having this information, now the doctor is telling, for example, this lady, wow, she has anemia. How do we know it? The number of red blood cells, the hemoglobin, is actually lower than normal. So what does it tell me? So it tells me as a nutritionist that this lady has maybe poor nutrition. Okay? And it's also an indicator of poor health. And as I'm doing these studies now, believe it or not, this problem of anemia, even in Korea, all right, even in Korea, it's around 25%. You have 25% of women as of 2015. I have to be more specific. Around 25% of women have this problem of anemia here in Korea. So it's actually a major problem. So, and this problem of anemia, right, is still important. Why? Because we have around you can say half billion of people who suffer of it. We talk mostly about women here. So if we focus about women, and anemia, I will just give you a few numbers here, right? So this is in 2011 all over the world. This number is all over the world. Very, very important number to remember here. So we have around 29%. 29% is what? 496 million. 96 millions. This one is what? This is non-pregnant woman. It means these women are not pregnant, but we have at least 29% of them who have this problem of anemia. Okay? And now, if you look at the women who are pregnant, around 38%. All right? So, which is 32.4 millions. These are what? These are like pregnant women. So what does it mean? It means that, yeah, say that again, yeah. Yes, so pregnant women are likely, to be more at risk of developing the problem of anemia. So which is a serious issue, all right? When we talk about how are they eating and do they have enough iron, do they have a problem with the hemoglobin? So for those who are taking the nutrition class with me, we have three chapters related to pregnancy and lactation. We check the woman's health and all the risks that pregnant women go through. Okay, so this problem is not only in poor countries, but we also see it here in Korea. That is also a major problem here. So which means that it's a major public health issue that we have to look at. Okay, guys. So again, when you look at this, right? When you look at this, this is the same picture, the same model we had in chapter 1. Relationship between food and health. How do we know it? Need to do some nutrition assessment. So now I have a new model that I'm designing right now. Okay, and here I put something new here. Governance, or if you want, the government. All right. Here we now put, for example, the government of Korea. So we want to know how much the government of Korea is spending on health. All right. We also want to know, for example, on programs like food security or on food and things like that. For example, in Korea, if a woman is pregnant, for example, you go see a doctor today, all right? If you see the doctor today, and the doctor, we just found out, oh, it's positive, you are pregnant, okay? So what happened? The government of Korea will ask you to open a bank account, and they will give you $500, right? Oshimanon, something like that. So the government will put $500 in your account so that you can spend the money, everything that related to your pregnancy. So if you need, as you know, for those who take the nutrition class, if a woman is pregnant, we say, okay, we need to give her that folic acid to avoid spina bifida, right? So then she can use that money for it. Okay? So you see here, the government, what the government does will affect the socio-economical status of people, because now the government is helping people. Alright? So by doing that, the government will actually help some of these women who may have challenges, right, to get like medicine, so they can get medicine. They can get supplement, alright, so their baby can grow healthy. Okay? So all of that is important to just put into perspective when we talk about public health. So every year we have to measure. So the government say, for example, now we are giving Oshimanon for every woman that is pregnant, and then later we see, oh, we had 25%, and then we're going to see if the number will go down. All right? So we cannot just focus on one aspect of food security. It's the all elements that needs to be put together. Government role, how the government role will impact the people, and how the people will be making good food choices. Okay? It's the same thing. If you look at your book here, I also ask you the question about the relationship between food security and obesity. All right? Here, what did I put here? Here I put here. We talk about anemia. It's the same. All right? You do the same when we talk about health here. We can add obesity here. Okay? The government can see, oh, what is happening? Middle schooler, they're getting overweight. What is the problem? So the government will look at some of these elements as well. We look at socioeconomic status of the parents. All right? We look at their food habits. And we see the impact with health. On chapter 1, I asked you if you have time to read the article that I wrote. Here, on health, what did I put here? We put the dental caries of teenagers, right? So here we are, dental caries. So you can use the same model for different health challenges. Okay, guys. So on the bottom of your, everybody follows. I know it's a lot of writing, but the key thing is to understand the relationship. It's not really difficult. All right. So now I just want to make sure that we are on the same page. Do you guys have the 3 pillars of food security? Because remember, today we focus on food security. We are right here. So let's look at the 3 pillars of food security. So we still talk about food security. Now we look at what? We look at the 3 pillars. The 3 pillars of food security. So the first one that we have is availability of food. Do you guys have the 3 pillars of food security on your notes? You have it? Alright, so availability of food, what does it mean? So here is, like I mentioned, the challenges that we have in Korea. So what do we need? We need what? Food production or food import. Right? So The food must, if I need to eat, the food must be available for me. All right? How do I get the food? All right? We can import the food, like we mentioned in the case of Korea. All right? So the country imports the food. So here we have food imports. Okay? Food imports here, or we talk about food production. Food production is what? Agriculture, farming. All right? So the number two, we talk about access. Very important. Access to food. How do I have access to food, guys? Sorry, I'll bring you back to this guy. Social-economical status. Right? So we're talking again about money. You know, most of you guys are eating, you're drinking and stuff like that, right? It was not free. Okay? You did not just go there and then they gave it to you free, right? So you have to give money for it. Okay? So access to food requires what? It requires money. And the last one, utilization of food. Utilization of food is what we've been talking about, is now your health situation. Chapter 1, we talk about food choice, right? So now, here, you see, you have your health situation. What did I say? The food choice that we make, right, will either make us healthy or make us sick. Okay, guys? So just keep that in mind. The three pillars of food security: availability of food, food import, we are bringing food to the country, right? Or we are producing the food. Access to food, social economical status. Do you have the money to buy the food? All right? And then utilization of food related to your health. It has to do with what? Your food habit. You see, same thing. Alright guys, so this is a model that everybody must know. Alright? In chapter 1, I showed you this model. In chapter 2, we also saw it a little bit. Relationship, you know, between food and health. And now we're talking about food security is the same model that you have. The only difference is we just add the role of the government, what the government is doing for people to be healthy. Okay? All right. So that's the end for this chapter. Like I said, please check the website. I will put the assignment today or the letters tomorrow. Please check it out. And the exam is also coming. Please review it. And for those who are hungry, yeah, it's time for you to go and that's the best choice. Okay, guys, if you have some questions, come and see me now. Before it's too late, the exam is coming. I'll be here and be glad to answer to your questions. Okay? Have a good day.